Hello everyone, welcome to the CET program conducted by Sarvodaya PU College for the year 2021. So in today's class, I am going to discuss the objective type questions that you can expect for Karnataka CET as well as NEET exam. So in today's class, I am going to discuss a chapter from inorganic chemistry, that is D and F block elements. So in theory, we have already discussed in detail about the concepts that you have to learn related to D and F block elements. And you know that this year the portion it has been reduced to 70%. So with respect to D and F block elements, some of the concepts they have been deleted. Mainly that is study of two important compounds of D block elements. It has been deleted. One is potassium dichromate K2Cr2O7 and another is potassium permanganate KMN. Preparation, properties, uses of these two important industrial compounds has been deleted. Okay. Similarly, with respect to F block, some important concepts they have been deleted. So according to the information given by PU board. So in competitive exams also, they are not going to ask questions for which the portions which have been deleted. Okay. So first, let us know a brief introduction about D and F block elements. Then I can take up the objective type questions that you can expect in competitive exams related to this chapter. Okay. See, you know that chemistry deals with study of elements and their compounds. So today there are 118 elements are known, and these 118 elements they undergo chemical combination in all possible ways, and which has resulted in innumerable compounds. Millions of compounds they are existing, and all these compounds they have been formed by the chemical combination of elements in different possible ways. It is just like this. If you take English alphabet, there are 26 letters A to Z, but by combination of those 26 letters in different possible ways, hundreds of words can be framed. In the same way, number of elements are 118, but when these elements undergo chemical combination in different ways can result in innumerable compounds. See, all these 118 elements, they have been classified in the form of a chart which is called as modern periodic table. So classification of elements we have already studied in first PU. Okay. So classification is nothing but grouping the elements which are having similar properties. See, it is not possible to remember the properties of each element. See, if the number, if it is small, then one can easily remember all the properties. But as the time passed, number of elements went on increasing, and as a consequence, chemists, they thought of classification of elements. Okay. See, if you take the historical background of classification, so in the beginning of 19th century, the classification of elements it was started, and at that time, the only important fundamental property which was known, it is atomic mass, and by using that, chemists they tried to classify the known elements. See, among them, some examples of classification are law of triads, Lothar-Meyer's curve, then law of octaves. Then very important is Mendeleev's classification of elements, Mendeleev's periodic table. So that is the basis for modern periodic table. Okay. See, Mendeleev's periodic table, it contains that is elements in the form of horizontal rows and vertical columns. Horizontal rows are called periods and vertical columns are called groups. So in each group, elements with similar properties are placed so that the burden of remembering the properties of each element, it has been reduced to certain groups. Okay. But number of limitations were existed in Mendeleev's periodic table because at that time the structure of atom was not known. So towards the end of 19th century or beginning of 20th century, that is scientists they came to know about that atom is not the ultimate particle of matter. Within atom, subatomic particles are present. So with the discovery of subatomic particles, in the early part of the 20th century, that is another aspect of classification of elements was unfolded. Okay. So in the early part of the 20th century, a scientist by name Henry Moseley found out that atomic number, it was more fundamental property than atomic mass. So when we consider atomic number as the fundamental property, compared to atomic mass, one can expect more regularities with respect to properties of elements. Based on an experimental observation, Moseley was able to say that atomic number is more fundamental property than atomic mass. So once atomic mass was replaced by atomic number, all anomalies existed in Mendeleev's periodic table, they were disappeared. And today, the modern periodic table, what we say, or long form of periodic table, what we say, it is based on a law which is called periodic law. So periodic law, modern periodic law, which states that properties of elements are periodic function of their atomic numbers. That means when elements are arranged in the increasing order of atomic numbers, elements with similar properties repeats after a definite interval. That is what is known as periodicity. Okay. So we can say atomic number is the basis for classification of elements in modern periodic table. See, atomic number, it is directly related to electronic configuration. See, today we know that electronic configuration of elements is the basis for understanding properties of elements. So physical and chemical properties of elements, they can be understood based on electronic configuration, especially outermost electronic configuration. The study of outermost electronic configuration, it actually explains the properties that are associated with this elements. So in order to understand chemistry of elements, definitely one should have the basic knowledge of electronic configuration. So electronic configuration is the backbone of periodic table. So long form of periodic table or modern periodic table, what we use today, it is mainly based on atomic number and which is related to electronic configuration. So electronic configuration is the backbone of periodic table. Okay. So classification of elements in modern periodic table, it is also based on electronic configuration. So in first PU you have studied that in modern periodic table, elements are classified into, that is, periods, groups and blocks. So periods are horizontal rows. There are 7 periods in modern periodic table, and groups are vertical columns, and there are about 18 groups in modern periodic table. 7 periods and 18 groups. In addition to that, there is one more type of classification of elements, which is blocks. So in modern periodic table, elements are classified into 4 blocks. S block elements, P block elements, D block elements, and F block elements. And this is purely based on electronic configuration. So if you take S block elements, there the last electron, not LOST, LAST, Kone electron, last electron, if it enters into S subshell, then all such elements are classified as S block elements. So if last electron enters into P subshell, then all such elements are classified as P block elements. Similarly, last electron enters into D subshell and F subshell. They are classified as D block elements and F block elements. So what is the position of, that is, different blocks of elements in modern periodic table? So S block elements, they are placed in the left portion of the periodic table. So in S block we have 2 groups, first group and second group. P block elements are placed at the right portion of the periodic table, and P block consists of 6 groups, that is from group number 13 to group number 18. And similarly, D block elements, they are placed in the central portion of the periodic table between S block and P block elements. So in D block we have 10 groups, that is from group number 3 to group number 12. F block elements, they are placed at the bottom of the periodic table. So with respect to F block, there is no question of groups. There are 2 horizontal rows which are kept at the bottom of the periodic table, together called as F block elements. Okay. So based on electronic configuration in modern periodic table, we have 4 blocks of elements: S, P, D, and F block elements. So in today's class, we are going to study about D and F block elements. Okay. So what is the basis to say that is elements which are grouped as D block and F block? It is simply electronic configuration. So D block elements, in all D block elements, electrons are progressively filled in D orbitals. Okay, what are D block elements? D block elements are those in which electrons are progressively filled in D orbitals. Similarly, what are F block elements? Elements in which electrons are progressively filled in F orbitals. You know that D subshell contains 5 D orbitals and F subshell contains 7 F orbitals. So if you take D block elements, that is in all those elements, electrons are progressively filled in D orbitals. Similarly, in F block elements, electrons are progressively filled in F orbitals. Okay. So in D block, we have, that is 10 groups, that is from group number 3 to group number 10. But very important is both D block and F block elements, their properties, they are actually more studied in a horizontal way compared to vertical way, because they show more horizontal similarities than vertical similarities. So that is the reason why with respect to D block, that is properties, they are studied in the form of series. So there are 4 important series we can see in D block elements, that is 3D series, 4D series, 5D series, and 6D series of elements. For example, if you take 3D series, that is, it starts from scandium, atomic number 21, and ends with zinc, atomic number 13. In the same way, we have 4D series, 5D series, and 6D series. So in 3D series, electrons are progressively filled in 3D orbitals. In 4D series, electrons are progressively filled in 4D orbitals. Similarly, in 5D series, electrons are progressively filled in 5D orbitals. Similarly, in 6D series, electrons are progressively filled in 6D orbitals. Similarly, if you come to F block, there are two horizontal rows which are separated from main periodic table and kept at the bottom. So there are two series of elements. One is called 4F series and another is called 5F series. So in 4F series, we have elements from lanthanum to lutetium. Similarly, in 5F series, we have elements from actinium to lawrencium. Okay. So in 4F series, electrons are progressively filled in 4F orbitals. In 5F series, electrons are progressively filled in 5F orbitals. Okay. See, S and P block elements together called as normal elements or main group elements. Whereas D block elements are called transition elements. Whereas F block elements, they are called as inner transition elements. So chapter deals with transition elements and inner transition elements, D block elements and F block elements. Okay. So this is a brief introduction with respect to that is D and F block elements. Now let us come to that is a discussion aspect. So let us start the multiple choice questions that you can expect in competitive exams related to D and F block elements. See, both in KCET and NEET, weightage for this chapter, it may be for 1 mark or 2 marks, maximum 2 marks. Apart from that, definitely you can get a question related to D and F block elements. So always you can expect either 1 mark or 2 mark questions related to this chapter. Okay, so let us begin the discussion of that is objective type questions related to F, that is the end block elements. Okay, so first question: Fe3 plus compounds are more stable than Fe2 plus compounds because, okay. Yes. Let us go to the options. Fe3 plus has smaller size than Fe2 plus. Then Fe3 plus has D5 configuration. Fe3 plus has higher oxidation state. Fe3 plus has higher size than Fe2 plus. See, normally stability of atom or ion, it depends on outermost electronic configuration. You know that atoms of noble gases are stable compared to atoms of other elements. Reason is they have octet configuration. They have 8 electrons in their outermost shell except helium. Helium, it has duplet configuration, whereas atoms of other elements, noble gases, they have octet configuration. So that is one. And similarly, generalize, how actually we can generalize that? Generally, elements with atoms of elements with half-filled or completely filled set of orbitals with electrons gives extra stability. So stability, it can be related to that is arrangement of electrons in the orbitals of the outermost shell. Okay. So first option you can directly reject because stability is not at all related to size of the ion. So second option, Fe3 plus has 3D5 configuration. Let us see Fe3 plus as that is 3D5 configuration. How actually we can arrive to the conclusion related to selecting the answers for this question? See how we can write the electronic configuration of ions. Yes. So Fe atomic number is 26. So if you take Fe2 plus, see atomic number represents protons as well as electrons. So in Fe atom there are 26 protons. So if you take Fe2 plus ion, which is formed by losing 2 electrons. So number of electrons in Fe2 plus is 24. Similarly, if you take Fe3 plus, so there 3 electrons are lost. Okay. So Fe26, how to write electronic configuration? Argon 18, then we have electrons in 3d orbitals, that is 3d6, then 4s2. See, in all d block and f block elements, that is first electrons are filled in the outermost shell, then electrons enters into, that is inner shell. In case of d block, that is electrons enters into penultimate shell, last but one, whereas in f block elements, electrons enters into, that is last but second shell, okay, anti-penultimate shell, which is called as. So this is the configuration of iron, okay. So when you come to Fe2 plus, so whenever electrons are lost, normally first electrons will be lost from the outermost shell. So 2 electrons which are present in 4s will be lost, and as a result configuration will be 3d6 and 4s0. Similarly, if you take Fe3 plus ion, so 2 electrons from 4s and 1 electron from 3d will be lost, and as a result electronic configuration will be 3d5 4s0. Very important is, if you take s and p block elements, normal elements, normally valence or valency of those elements, oxidation states of those elements, generally it is fixed. So number of electrons which participate in reaction by the atoms of S and P block, it is always fixed. For example, alkali metals, oxidation state is always +1. Alkaline earth metals, oxidation state is always +2. Aluminium, oxidation state is always +3. Fluorine, oxidation state is always -1. So they have fixed oxidation state. But when you come to D and F block elements, they show variable oxidation states. And reason for that is small energy difference between n-1 d orbitals and ns orbitals. See, because of that small difference with respect to energy, always you can expect the participation of electrons from the ns orbital as well as n-1 d orbitals. That is the reason why they exhibit variable oxidation states. That's why their properties are different from main group elements. Okay. See, here you can see iron is exhibiting 2 oxidation states. One is +2 and another is +3. So in Fe3 plus, you can see the configuration is 3d5. So in 3d subshell there are 5 d orbitals. So when you are filling the orbitals of same energy, then we have to follow one rule, that is Un's rule. So according to Un's rule, pairing of electrons in the orbitals of same energy takes place only after each orbital contains 1 electron. See, all the 5d orbitals, first they will be filled with electrons of parallel spin, then only that is pairing takes place. So if you take Fe2 plus ion, you can see here 5d orbitals, it is unstable because it is not completely half-filled. Whereas if you take Fe3 plus ion, that is 5d orbitals, they are half-filled with electrons. Okay. So orbitals Half-filled orbitals with electrons and completely filled orbitals with electrons. Normally, they provide extra stability. So that is the reason why Fe3 plus compounds are more stable than Fe2 plus compounds. Let us take an example. FeCl3 and FeCl2. So ferric chloride, ferrous chloride. Suppose if question is asked which is more stable and which is less stable, FeCl3 is more stable than FeCl2 because in FeCl3, what is the oxidation state of iron? It is +3. Whereas in FeCl2, oxidation state is +2. So Fe3 plus ion stable compared to Fe2 plus ion, mainly because of that is half-filled set of orbitals or 3d5 configuration. Okay, so in general you can remember NS2, NP6, then D5, D10, F7, F14. Okay, so normally atoms which are having such that is configurations, they show that is higher stability compared to other atoms. So with respect to this question, we can say that is Fe3 plus as 3d5 configuration. That is the reason why it is more stable compared to that is Fe that is 2 plus. Okay, so we'll move on to next question. So general electronic configuration of so second question is general electronic configuration of transition metals is. Okay, so options n minus 1 D1 to 10 NS2, then ND10 NS1 to 2, N minus 1 D10 NS1 to 2, N minus 1 D1 to 10 NS1 to 2. Okay, so as I already said, if you take that is D block elements, electrons are filled first in outermost shell, then electrons are filled in the penultimate shell, that is inner shell, last but one shell. So this general electronic configuration, it can be given as, see, last but one shell can be represented as n minus 1, n minus 1 D1 to 10, then NS, see normally in NS, 2 electrons can be filled. But this general electronic configuration, it has many exceptions. See, generally we can write the electronic configuration of D block elements as n minus 1 D1 to 10 NS2. But due to small energy difference between n minus 1 D orbital and NS orbitals, there are some exceptions. So one such exception you can see in 3D, that is chromium and copper. So chromium atomic number is 24, copper atomic number is 29. So if you write the electronic configuration of chromium according to Aufbau rule, so it will be 3d4 4s1. Similarly, copper, three D9 4s2. But if you write the electronic configuration of chromium and copper like this, then it will be wrong, because chromium and copper, they are less reactive and more stable. So this type of configuration, that is D4 configuration and D9 configuration, it is generally shows they are unstable. That means they must be more reactive. So in order to explain the properties of chromium and copper, because of less energy difference between that is 3d orbitals and 4s orbitals, what may happen? Rearrangement of electrons can happen. And because of that, electronic configuration of chromium, especially outermost electronic configuration of chromium, it is given as 3d5 4s1. Similarly, copper it is given as 3d10 4s1. So that means if you take, that is say D block elements, group starts from 3 to 12, especially if you take 3D series. Okay. So group number 3, group number 4 and group number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, so on. So if you take, it is scandium, titanium, vanadium and chromium. Scandium group 3, titanium group 4, vanadium group 5, chromium group 6, and similarly copper group 11. So if you take the general electronic configuration of group 6 elements and group 11 elements, it will be n minus 1 d. For group 6 it is d5 ns1. Similarly group 11, where copper is the first element, electronic configuration is n minus 1 d10 ns1. So many exceptions we come across, that's why you cannot select this as the electronic configuration of D block elements. So what is the electronic configuration of D block elements? We can give n minus 1, so D 1 to 10, ns 1 to 2. Okay, so in the outermost shell, 1 electron or 2 electrons can be present. That is because of the exception. So correct answer is, that is n minus 1 d 1 to 10 ns 1 to 2 because of the exceptions. Okay, so we move on to next question. Which of the following transition metal ion is colorless? Okay, yes, one important difference between main group elements and D and F block elements. S and P block elements, normally they do not form colored compounds, whereas transition elements and inner transition elements, they can form colored compounds. Okay, see, color of the compound, it is mainly due to transition of electrons. Very important. Color is mainly due to, with respect to D block I am talking, it is DD transition of electrons. And for this DD transition of electrons to happen, then D orbitals must contain unpaired electrons. Okay, so how actually we can come to know whether an ion forms colored compound or not? That is by finding whether it contains unpaired electrons or not. So let us take the options which are given. V2 plus vanadium. Okay, so vanadium atomic number is 22. Neutral atom, it has 22 electrons. V2 plus ion, it is formed by losing 2 electrons. That means it is 20. So what is the electronic configuration of V2 plus ion? So electrons will be present in that is 3d and 4s. So if you take vanadium atom, that is atomic number is 22. Okay, so 3d 4s2 3d2. So 2 electrons will be lost from 4s orbital first, and in d orbital there will be 2 electrons. Okay, so this is the orbital diagram. So it contains unpaired electrons. So unpaired electrons, they are represented by n. So n is equal to 2. So since it contains, that is partially filled d orbitals, definitely you can expect dd transition of electrons. That's why it will be having color. And color of, that is V2 plus ion, it is found to be violet. See, normally the color what you observe, it is called as complementary color. See, for the excitation of electrons, some amount of energy will be absorbed, and normally that energy is absorbed in the form of a particular frequency, and that frequency lies in visible region. So whenever light passes through any substance, that is some amount of energy will be absorbed in the form of, that is frequency, and some frequency will be left over, and that leftover energy or frequency, it is actually appears in the form of color. So V2 plus, it is having violet color due to the presence of partially filled d orbitals, and there you can expect dd transition. Then second option, Cr3 plus. Atomic number of Cr is 24. So Cr3 plus is formed by losing 3 electrons. So number of electrons in Cr3 plus ion is 21. So what is the electronic configuration? 18, 3d, 4s. So if you take chromium atom configuration, outermost configuration is 3d5, 4s1. So 3 electrons are lost means 1 electron is lost from 4s. That is, it becomes 0. So from 3d5, 2 electrons will be lost. So that means electronic configuration is 3d3. So n is equal to 3. Okay. So chromium, again it is having violet color. Similarly, if you take C, so because of the presence of partially filled d orbitals, you can expect that is dd transition. So it will be having color. Zn2 plus ion. So zinc atom, atomic number 30. So zinc ion is Zn2 plus ion is formed by losing 2 electrons. So electrons will be 28. So what is the electronic configuration of Zn2 plus ion? 3d, 4s. So from 4s, 2 electrons will be lost. So it will be 0. So in 3d, there will be 10 electrons. Okay. So let us take the box diagram for Zn2 plus ion. So it is completely filled with electrons. Okay. So there are no unpaired electrons, or d orbitals are not partially filled. So when d orbitals are not partially filled, definitely you cannot expect dd transition of electrons, and as a result it will be colorless. Similarly, if you take the last one, that is titanium, Ti3 plus. Okay, so titanium atomic number, it is 22. Okay, so 22 means number of electrons, it is 19. So Ar 18, 3d 1, 4s 0. So n is equal to 2. Okay. So Ti3 plus, atomic number titanium atom 22. Number of electrons lost, it is 3. So number of electrons will be 19. So Ar, that is 18, and in 3d there will be 1 electron. Sorry. Okay. So titanium, it is purple in color. Sorry, this is 21 vanadium. So here 21 means 4s2, 3d2. So yes, n will be equal to 1. So this is purple in color. Here you can see that is V2 plus ion, Cr3 plus ion, and Ta3 plus ion. They are all colored. That means they form colored the compounds. Whereas Zn2 plus, which is not having partially filled d orbitals, and as a result, it is colorless. So one important point you can remember, that is how to find out whether an ion forms color or colorless compounds. Very simple. You have to write down the electronic configuration of that ion, and then you have to find out that is whether d orbitals are partially filled or not. So if d orbitals are partially filled, then definitely it forms colored compounds. If d orbitals are completely filled, then definitely it cannot form, that is colored compounds. So among this, Zn2 plus is colorless ion. So next question. Which transition metal ion has highest magnetic moment? Very important. So magnetic moment, it is related with two important factors. One is angular angular momentum, orbital angular momentum. One is orbital angular momentum and another is spin angular momentum of electrons. Okay, so here that is orbital angular momentum is totally neglected. So magnetic moment, it is directly related with spin angular momentum of that is each electron. So spin angular momentum of each electron, it can be calculated by a formula which is called spin only formula. And spin only formula is mu is equal to square root of n into n plus 2 Bm. Very important formula. In many exams, they will ask questions related to this. Remember this formula. So Bm is unit Bohr magneton. Okay. And n is very important. It represents number of unpaired electrons. Okay. So most of that is substances. They can be classified into two types, diamagnetic and paramagnetic substances. So when magnetic moment is applied to a substance, if that magnetic moment is, that means substance repels, magnetic moment is repelled, then it is said to be diamagnetic. If that substance is attracted towards the magnetic field, then it is said to be paramagnetic. And there are some substances which are strongly attracted by magnetic field. Such substances are called as, that is, ferromagnetic substances, and it all depends on number of unpaired electrons. Okay, so if there are no unpaired electrons, substance is said to be diamagnetic. Similarly, if unpaired electrons are present, then it is said to be paramagnetic. So if mu is equal to 0, then it is diamagnetic. If mu is not equal to 0, then it is said to be paramagnetic. Ferromagnetism is an extreme form of paramagnetic substance. Okay. So how to find out highest magnetic moment? Very simple. Any ion, if it contains maximum number of unpaired electrons, then magnetic moment associated with that ion will be more. So one simple clue you can remember, if one unpaired electron is present, then magnetic moment associated with that electron will be equal to 1.73 Bohr magneton. So one unpaired electron idre magnetic moment estirutte 1.73. ಈ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಏನಿಲ್ಲ, ನೀವು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಕಂಡುಹಿಡಿಬಹುದು. ಒಂದು ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್, ಒಂದು ಅನ್ಪೇರ್ಡ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಮ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆಟಿಕ್ ಮೂಮೆಂಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿರುತ್ತೆ? 1.73. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಹಿಯರ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಫೈಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ number of unpaired electrons. Cu2 plus, copper atom, atomic number 29. Cu2 plus ion, that is number of electrons will be 27. Copper atom tagondre electrons 29 irutte. Cu2 plus ion is formed by losing 2 electrons, so electrons will be 27. So what is the electronic configuration? Ar18. So copper atom configuration is 3d10 4s1. So 2 electrons loss means 1 electron will be lost from 4s orbital and another electron will be lost from 3d orbital. So electronic configuration will be 3d9. So if you take 3d orbitals, so 9 electrons are there. So 9 electrons will be present like this according to Ohm's rule. So n is equal to 1. Erase this so that you can understand. So N is equal to 1. Similarly, second option, Ni2 plus. So nickel atom atomic number is 28. So Ni2 plus number of electrons 26. So Ar18. So 26 electrons. So 4s2 3d8 nickel atom configuration. So 2 electrons will be lost from 4s. Okay. So 8 electrons means how many unpaired electrons will be there? 3d orbitals if you take, you can arrange the electrons like this. So first orbital there will be pairing, second also pairing, fourth and fifth orbital there will be unpaired electrons. So N is equal to 2. Similarly, if you take option C, CO2 plus, cobalt electronic, that is atomic number of electron, cobalt atom, neutral atom, if you take atomic number is 27. So CO2 plus means number of electrons will be 25. So Ar18 3d 7 4s 0. Okay. So 3d7 means how many unpaired electrons will be present here? N is equal to 3. And similarly, last option, Fe2 plus. Iron atom number of electrons 26. Fe2 plus ion number of electrons 24. So what is the electronic configuration? Ar18. So 3d6 4s 0. So in 3d orbitals, how many unpaired electrons are present? So N is equal to 4. So Cu2 plus ion, 1 unpaired electron. Ni2 plus ion, 2 unpaired electrons. CO2 plus ion, 3 unpaired electrons. Whereas Fe2 plus ion has 4 unpaired electrons. So how to find out highest magnetic moment? So 4 into 1.73 bm. Okay. So Fe2 plus ion, it is having highest magnetic moment. So Cu2 plus, Ni2 plus, CO2 plus, Fe2 plus. Among them, highest magnetic moment is for, that is Fe2 plus ion. So very important, you remember this point. So one unpaired electron magnetic moment is 1.73. So ಈ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ನಾನು ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಈ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾನ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡೋ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಬರಲ್ಲ, ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬಹುದು. Okay, otherwise you can apply this formula and also you can calculate magnetic moment. Understand? So next, yes. So Cu plus ion is not stable in aqueous solution because second ionization enthalpy of copper is less than first ionization enthalpy. So second ionization enthalpy. So copper atom in gaseous state, if it loses 1 electron, then it is said to be called as first ionization enthalpy. Okay. Similarly, when Cu plus ion in gaseous state, if it loses 1 more electron, then it is called as second ionization enthalpy. Okay. So second ionization enthalpy of copper is less than that of first ionization enthalpy. Okay. So that is nothing to do with stability of Cu plus ion. So when you take Cu plus ion in aqueous state and Cu2 plus ion in aqueous state, Cu plus ion is unstable, Cu2 plus is more stable. Large value of second ionization enthalpy of copper is compensated by much more negative hydration enthalpy of Cu2 plus ion. Okay. Yes, definitely. Whenever Cu2 plus ion, when it is, that means whenever compounds containing Cu2 plus ion, when they are dissolved in water, energy released, it is actually called as enthalpy of hydration. So normally when ions are surrounded by water molecules, energy will be released, and that energy is called as hydration enthalpy. So second ionization enthalpy of copper is very high because whenever first electron is lost, that is copper gets D10 configuration. So in order to remove electron from stable configuration, you require more energy. That's why second ionization enthalpy of copper is very high compared to first ionization enthalpy. So this high ionization enthalpy of copper, it is compensated by, that is, larger hydration enthalpy, and as a result, that is, it can be stable. Okay, so second option, it is very nearer to the answer that you can consider. Second is hydration energy of Cu plus is much more negative than that of, that is, Cu2 plus. This is wrong option. So many copper 1 compounds are unstable in aqueous solution and undergo disproportionation reaction. Very important. So option B and option D, they are answers which are very nearer. Here is this. Okay. Yes. So option D, let us take. Copper 1 compounds are unstable in aqueous solution because they undergo disproportionation. Okay, what is disproportionation? See, whenever that is any species which is having lower oxidation state, if it is unstable, it tends to undergo disproportionation to give species of higher oxidation state and lower oxidation state. Cu plus ion oxidation state is +1. So since it is highly unstable, it can undergo disproportionation to form species of lower and higher oxidation states. See here, oxidation state of copper is 0, and here oxidation state of copper Cu2 plus ion is +2. Okay. So since it is highly unstable, this is applicable for all the, that is, concepts you come across like this. So if oxidation state of any species, if it is highly unstable, it tends to undergo disproportionation. So disproportionation is nothing but, that is, the products which are formed, species which are formed, one will be having lower oxidation state and one will be having higher oxidation state. Okay. So whenever Cu plus ion is formed in water, it cannot exist because it readily undergoes disproportionation. Okay. So option B, it is very nearer to the answer, but the most appropriate answer is many copper 1 compounds, that is Cu plus ion, that is, they undergo disproportionation reaction to give copper and Cu2 plus ion. Okay, that is the